All right, welcome in. 27-20 Steelers over the Colts. They improved to 5-3. Are they the least predictable team in the NFL, or does it just feel like it? Really wasn't that close, though, until the end. But the bigger question is, what does it mean for who they are and where they go next? Welcome into the Noll Road. Here we go.
Then to the corner of the end zone. Oh, for a touchdown!
Yes, sir. Welcome in. I'm Gavin Dawson along with New Bear Lesnewski. Like that video if you loved what you saw from the Steelers in Week 9, or you're just happy, breathing a sigh of relief to get the dub. Thanks to everybody who subscribed over the last week or so. Yeah, I mean, you guys are the best. Beers on us at the draft, huh, New Bear?
Hey, I was trying to be subtle about it, just wearing some old school stuff where it's real small. But War Damn Eagle, baby. We got Hugh Freeze fired. Shout out to all the Auburn fans out there watching the show. And thank you, Shane Steichen, for doing your best Hugh Freeze impersonation today to keep Mike Tomlin employed.
Okay, how much credit do you give the Steelers for this win? I mean, the Colts outgained them 368 to 225. They won time of possession by a healthy chunk once again. The Steelers averaged just 1.8 yards per carry on their 22 rushes. Like, if this was a game of tug of war, Indy's flying home with a dub right about now, buddy.
Well, it should have been that. And speaking of Kentucky, I mean, we were kings of the beach down in Panama City. You want to put me in the horseshoe, put me at the bottom of your tug of war spit. Let's go. We'll win. To this day, put money on it. Speaking of money, how many times do you think coming into today, Daniel Jones had thrown the ball 50 times in his whole damn career? Once.
Oh, okay.
Once.
I was going to say zero.
Let me bring it down to 40. How many times do you think Daniel Jones had thrown the ball 40 times in a game coming into today?
3 times.
16.
Okay.
How many times do you think he'd won in those 16 games?
Twice.
Exactly twice.
Okay.
So today 50 throws. Like, thank you. I'm not just talking crap for the sake of talking crap, man. Like, you watch this game, you watch them just bully ball. They run a punt where they've got everyone inside, and they're just like, we don't need it. So we're going to run a fake punt to a backup safety and shove it right up your you-know-what. Like, the criminal mismanagement of this game by the Indianapolis Colts. Because why? It almost always, like, when teams are close, it comes down to a one-possession game. Onside kicks, penalties, like all.
I think they needed points in a hurry. Like, I'll take up for the other side. I think the Colts did what they had to do, and for the second week in a row, the Steelers' defense was stopping a really good running game. Like, you had him at three an attempt. Do you want to do that 3 times and go for
Oh my goodness! They tried to run it TJ a couple of times, and he just fed you. He didn't just take your lunch money. He took the money and then he fed you your lunch and watched you take every bite. Like, today was a nice redemption tour day. Today is a day where you're going to circle the wagons and talk. What did you say before we hopped on here? What did it remind you of? What did today remind you of?
The Patriots game. Yeah,
you beat me to it, so I'll give you credit for it.
Okay, so I guess my thing with the takeaways is it's great to be that team that can go get 5 or 6. But you had 0 turnovers in the month of October, which just proves how critically unsustainable this is. And I feel like, I feel like the realists or the people that pride themselves on being objective are going to be in the comments saying, this doesn't mean crap, you got lucky, and then the supporters, maybe the soccer moms out there that want to bang the drum for anything positive and want to say, it's hard to win in this league. You can't style point a win. You take them any way you can get them. And there is a little bit of truth to that. But I really think that's intentionally making chicken salad out of chicken bleep, because it's just not going to work. The only thing that I'm encouraged by from this week is the fact that they did stop the run. So you get Josh Jacobs and Jonathan Taylor back-to-back weeks, and you pretty much squashed them. So after the Chase Brown really nearly 10 yards per attempt, I thought that had the ability to break the back of the Steelers. They're not giving up monster plays. They're forcing the team to drive on them, and they're not giving up runs either. So they're more difficult to beat over the last 2 weeks than it appeared they were going to be.
Hey man, look, shout out to Mike Tomlin, because he's probably right to be in his fears about Joe Flacco. He gave my hometown Bears. Shout out Brandon Wayman. Who'd you root for today? Your 2 favorite teams. 470 and 4. I mean, good gracious, Flacco still has some But all kidding aside, when you break this thing down and you go through the machinations of saying, who, what, where, how, when, why, like it's so hard to think about how this plays forward. And this is my biggest bugaboo with today. The very first play of the game, it took every ounce of self-control I had to text you and not just say Jonnu Smith sucks. Like they get him wide open. They do that insert motion or what looks like it's going to be that insert motion with Mount Washington. They get Jonnu running wide. Where is the adjustment, the in-game adjustment from Artie that gets you guys wide open? Like Roman Wilson being put in a position at the end of this game or DK Metcalf only being able to get the ball because Aaron Rodgers says, even though the box might be even, I'm going to flip this one out to him because we haven't thrown it to him in an hour of live action. Like what I'm the most concerned about now actually flips back the other way because I begged, I screamed, I said, give me broken teeth. Put fear into these. And I'm not talking about the numbers because if you throw the ball 50 times and you don't get a 100-yard receiver, shame on the other professional offense. Like math is going to happen. But there were shots fired. There were chances taken. And oh, by the way, there were one-on-ones won. And when you do that, and I know it wasn't a short week, but when you talk about being short people, to be able to step up and do what they did today doesn't happen by accident, right? On purpose, with purpose, for purpose. The variables, the variance, like you said, they hadn't had one in a month and today they got 150 turnovers. Fine. That's not going to happen next Sunday. But when it does, you got to give them credit for it. What I now want to say is how do you start to take a step back and say next week, if we only get one turnover, if we only get two, if we get none and everything's even, how do we not put ourselves in a position where we're getting beat on switches and we have help inside, we're getting beat outside on defense. And at the same time, how do we do more than come out from the opening jump, script dudes wide open, and then have to beg for first downs at the end? Like the script flipped so hard for me today, and I'm trying not to overreact, but this is absolutely a Sunday night overreaction show from this guy.
I love it. I mean, it was a tale of two games, and the Steelers for the first quarter or so looked like that team that had lost two in a row and was about to do three in a row.
It looked so ugly, like physically, right?
Yeah. But something changed, when TJ Watt hit Daniel Jones, stripped him and recovered it simultaneously, like it electrified the team again, which makes me think that maybe it is fixable because there was something to the attitude and the violence that then showed up. And then after the Payton Wilson interception, it totally metamorphosized, and the tone of the game really didn't change until it was late at 27-10 when, weird stuff started to happen and they get 10 points back there to make it look closer than what it was. But this was really a turnover dominant game aided by the fact that you crushed their run. You made Daniel Jones one-dimensional, which might have snapped him back into New York Giants DJ instead of this Heisman version that we've seen since September 5th or whatever.
You know why the NFL is so special is because, people say, oh, hey, the hashtag for the shoe crowd is out there like, yeah, y'all got a million turnovers. You beat us by one score. We're good. Okay. Does Cam Hayward not get credit for those deflections early? Do they not get credit for putting you up to the point where you have to literally tush push against again? I was about to lose my mind if this game had gone the way it looked like it was going to, because they had communication problems even getting dudes on the field on critical fourth downs on the goal line. They had no one in the A gap on a tush push. Like early, this looked like everything was about to unravel. And you know what's really funny, and I was just talking about like week to week or how the script flipped for me. Guess what happens when you go for it on fourth down? Guess what happens when you step out of your comfort zone? When you do something different, the team goes, hold on now. Hey, hold on now. Like man, when the head man is willing to take a risk, even if it doesn't work out, and Mount Washington couldn't get his head around, and Aaron Rodgers didn't have to throw the ball that hard, damn it. But he did, and it didn't work. And guess what?
They tried it again later. They tried it again later. Yeah, I there was some good stuff to take away from this game, no doubt. It does feel like a game, though, that if you lined it up like 10 more times, I think the Colts would win 6 or 7 of them. and maybe you want to agree or disagree with that. Leave a comment down below. What's your biggest takeaway from this Steelers game? I think it's a parity-driven league, and some weeks are going to be your week because all cylinders are firing. Some week it's going to be your week because the other team just keeps shooting itself in the foot, and you get those more often than not. It can be a good season for you, but the teams that ultimately end up winning dominate the battle of the trenches, and we have not seen the Steelers offense do that today at all. They really were playing third and long football.
Yeah, I mean Warren was under 2 a carry. He had a tough go of it. Caleb Johnson had a nice little check down, but I mean other than that, like the backs really had a tough day. And I thought Aaron Rodgers held the ball long a couple of times. I also thought, man, today is one of those days where you go, damn, dude, could you imagine if we had him 10 years ago? Like there were so many plays today where Green Bay Packers Aaron Rodgers would have stepped through the hole and picked up a run for 25 yards and hook slid out of bounds just to be fun. Hit you with a What was the commercial? What was the belt?
Discount double check.
Double check.
Being dad's over 40, you understand him kind of, because he's looking at situations like, what the crap? Like he's just trying to avoid people falling on him or him going down to the ground because he knows how fragile and brittle the body has become, and he's trying to, preserve it as long as possible. So what was different other than the takeaways? Chuck Clark was out. Kyle Duggar was in. Jalen Ramsey played a lot of free safety. I don't know if you'd call that full-time free safety, but the deck got shuffled a bit back there. And, maybe it was one of their better defensive games of the year, maybe their best game of the year so far. What's that?
I know we talked about Trey Hendrickson not playing against the Bengals when he was running around, and even against Green Bay on that terrible turf. And I don't want to bring the grounds crew into it or whatever, but like, what else is in play for him to not just plant and go? Like when you see week 2, like, was this a week where he just felt old, where he like maybe the glutamine or whatever, the avocado ice cream, like didn't kick in by Sunday? Like today was a weird day for me for A-Rod because he looked like he was both holding the ball and wanting to run. And he was just stuck in between because the mind was like, oh, I can go get this. And the body was like, no, buddy, you can't.
Be careful. Be freaking careful. I don't think quarterbacks should be running at all in this league unless you absolutely have to make the playoffs. And then once you get to the playoffs, then it's totally open season. Like my body is on the line. But I think your starting quarterback is so damn important. I appreciate that. I appreciate my starting quarterback. Now, if you lose this game and go to 4-4, then I think you got to think about throwing caution to the wind going into this week against the Chargers and the next week against the Bengals. But now at 5-3, I think your playoff odds go up over 60% again. And I imagine, Steelers fans are starting to feel pretty good about getting your identity of your defense back. Salute to Payton Wilson for a huge game. 9 tackles, 2 PBUs.
Yes.
And the pick. And the second one set up the Freiermuth TD his second takeaway was the Jack Sawyer pick, right? The deflection that went to the pick. Yeah.
Well, so like I kept looking up today because you look at who they're going to play next week and maybe try to get ahead of it. And anywhere I didn't have the Steelers defense, I picked up the Chargers defense because who are they playing? Probably the worst team in the league, and they gave them hell. And then Joe Alt gets rolled up on, and thankfully it looks like it's an ankle and not a knee. Like even if it ends up being an IR situation, you'd much rather have it be an ankle or a knee, I guess, unless you're Dak Prescott. But like as you unpack the Chargers, dude, they got issues. And the difference between that game next week before we start talking about it and breaking it down for real, I think maybe the reason I'm so hung up on, what 8 can't do for us is, have you watched much Herbert this year? Like, I know everyone focuses on how talented he is as a thrower and some of the balls he can put into places where like other people just can't. Like nobody, I know at Mahomes, even Lamar to a certain extent, but dude, I mean, Herbert has made some throws this year that, I mean, it's Josh Allen, it's Mahomes. I mean, it's him and like 2 or 3 other guys, and that's the end of the list right now. Like Aaron Rodgers, Hail Marys aside, Aaron Rodgers on the run for his life aside, I'm just talking about at any given time, Herbert, right? Bro, he has been on the run because his line has been terrible. And he was averaging like 12 yards a carry and just taking off and running and hook sliding and popping up. And like, missing dudes breaking open down the field because he's so under pressure, getting ready to go. And now he might not have Joe Alt. And now hashtag here we go. How do you get home and make the rest of the schedule right when the Bears gave up 470 and 4 to Flacco and an onside kick and needed some last minute magic? Now all of a sudden, like in this week to week league, I'm not saying the schedule isn't less daunting, but what I am saying is, just like we talk about turnover variance, who are you going to see? Some of these teams are like a house, like it's a fun house of mirrors from week to week.
Yeah. Have you gotten a Joe Alt update? Is it bad? Is he going to be out?
The only thing I saw was that it was not the knee, it was the ankle. And I was hunting for it. And he is so good. And especially after they lost Slater early. And it's just like, man, how much more, the football gods are wicked sometimes, right? And I keep seeing ankle, not knee, but I don't see like a hard,
another high ankle sprain, says Adam Schefter. I'll go with that. That means he's definitely out for this week, and it's quarterback hunting season once again. Okay, before we get to the rest of the schedule, we got an absolute monster of a deadline on Tuesday, the NFL trade deadline. Reacting to the Steelers' 27-20 win over the Colts, how immediately are you looking at this trade deadline coming out of the game? You came out of it healthy despite Darius Slay maybe dislocating a finger there temporarily. That looked kind of spooky.
Yeah, so I guess, what do you think? Do you think that if you flip that ball to Jacoby Myers in the flat, he just falls down or just gets knocked TKO'd by, the guy coming in to clean his clock? Like, I get that you can't hit triangle and, oh no, don't jump. And yeah, that fumble's terrible. But just like Caleb Johnson returning kicks, like, you have to put dudes in position. And then, like, if you don't give them reps, then when, oh my God, it's a football. What is Billy Bob in Varsity Blues? Oh, look, it's a ball. I'm going to catch it. Like, so
you're jumping to Roman Wilson here with your trade deadline thoughts. Like, do you? I don't know. I don't think the wide receiver 2 is a huge need.
The early. I
like Calvin Austin. I like Roman Wilson.
The Raiders stuff that I saw, Jacoby Myers literally looks like a dude who's trying to get traded. He's trying not to pull a hamstring running comeback routes because he wants out of town. Is that a dude you really want on your team? Like, you think all of a sudden he's going to show up and be fine and also be okay if you don't get him the ball and don't pay him? Like,
losing's toxic, dude.
Give me Jalen Waddle for whatever it takes. Give me a splash move or give me no move at all. Find out what Calvin Austin really is, because you either got to pay him or move on. Find out what Roman Wilson really is, because you either got to bump him up or you got to draft someone else. Like, I'm totally good locking in and saying, hey, look at these holes for real on this defense. Make a splash or don't jump in the pool.
I mean, Jalen Waddle will be outstanding. Jacoby Myers will be outstanding. I've been talking about the need just to replace Keanu Benton, at least on rundowns. And I don't know.
Benton flashed today when they let him move in space. If you want to get back at Jared Simmons, Quinnen Williams, you want to talk about big uglies on the other side of the ball, like, I'm all in on if that's the splash and it's not wide receiver 2, but it's for some big nasty dude. Because Keanu Benton, when you don't make him line up over the center and be a nose tackle and 2-gap, can actually go do some. The Wisconsin wave today, there's lakes up there, but it was like the damn ocean. Pick your favorite one. They were coming after your quarterback.
Keanu Benton really needs to be traded to a 4-3 team and play 3 technique defensive tackle.
Yeah,
he's an absolute monster, but he's quick.
Warren Sapp, and that's his ceiling, is to be poor man's Warren Sapp in a sub package. He can go be hero and be one of those dudes where you go from the starters to the backup. You go big nickel and he wreaks havoc. But like, they just don't do that enough with him because they can't.
I would love to look at adding another corner. Like, I think you looked at, hey, we got problems with the Bengals here in division. We need to get 3 quality corners, and you went out and try to do that. Now you have Jalen Ramsey playing more.
When you watch this film back, Alec Pierce should have had 200 yards receiving today. You need help. You need help at corner. He had 115, and I think he had 6 for 115 on 13 targets. I'm not even talking about the ones that he didn't get targeted on or didn't catch. I'm talking about them. That dude I almost just dropped an MFer. He was wide open all day, and he's one of those dudes that they were talking about maybe him being in the mix for wide receiver 2 at one point because of his speed. He's actually become a pretty damn good route runner, professional wide receiver. When you start, Darius Slay looked like the sniper got him 2-3 times today. You're one play away from having, guys like Pierre have to play every down. Guys like Beanie Bishop or whatever the replacement level corner for Eccles is in your mind, we're all still hoping and praying that Corey Trice has an NFL career, let alone a future. Like, that dude might be over before it ever gets started. Absolutely. Also, we're talking about Joe Alt. Did Asante Samuel Jr. get signed by anyone since we started talking? Is he still out there on the street? Like, let's have a real conversation about who's out there and what money talks, because these videos have been going around about him, about Simmons at safety, about, the Gilly lock. Like, you want a man guy, you want a zone guy. There's guys out there who you don't have to move any of the picks that are so precious for you when everybody comes to the triangle, the North Shore, the point, and whatever they do to put 500,000 people in front of the fountain next year. Like, I was so, like, Slay looked like he was at one point today, like, it was like my son rolling around on the ground after his 5-year-old sister just hit him with the DDT off the top ropes.
Yeah, and Porter's got issues as well. Like, it's just too many flags. So I think you got a Band-Aid maybe need for corner. You also have long-term team building needs at corner. I guess Coach T gave Kyle Duggar a game ball, so he must have been pleased with what he did. But I could still use another safety. Like, I don't know the positions that I wouldn't want another player at. Obviously, you don't need guys behind Hayward and Harmon that are good. I mean, I guess you don't need another tight end. You don't need another quarterback. You don't need a kicker. But other than that, I'm open-minded.
What's happening with, I'm looking at the schedule because I know.
Oh, and Asante Samuel, he was supposed to have a CT scan in October, and we have not heard anything about it. So, it got spinal. So I don't know if his career can continue, but it's kind of weird that we haven't got an update.
Yeah, because he keeps posting workout videos where he just is in, like, the best shape of his life. And so the Rams motorboated. Stafford did Stafford things. Kyron Williams things. Puka Nacua did Puka Nacua things. Did Alontae Taylor even suit up today? You know what I mean? Like, there are guys out there for teams that are just in their season's over. It's fire sale time. And I'm going to go on record again saying, if they want a 3 or more for Jacoby Myers, pass and find out what you got in Calvin Austin or Roman Wilson. But if it's 2s and 1s, and we're talking about guys like Waddle, and you're going to make a splash play, guess what? The Alontae Taylors of the world, like, those guys on these rosters that are moving on, and go back to Miami talking about Waddle, Chubb and Phillips, and, like, you're talking about late round pick swaps. Like, you're not talking about anything that you should be precious about, because the rate of even a second day guy, but especially a third day guy, hell, under the Tomlin regime, first day guys hitting has not been great. Go get yourself a proven commodity, put yourself in a position to make a run when literally week to week we go from the sky is falling, fire this guy, to, you know what, if you're not going to clean house, then at the very least stop gaslighting the fan base and give yourself a shot in a year where there is no New York Yankees, Los Angeles Dodgers, New York Mets. Pick your favorite team, your favorite city that can just outspend you because your owner's too cheap, in a controlled environment where you are out ahead with Aaron Rodgers. You are out ahead with TJ Watt and Cam Hayward and those guys. You are out ahead with 2026 picks. Stop worrying about what the draft looks like. They're already coming to your city. We know that. How about you let them come here when you hold up the Lombardi instead of the quarterback that might play in 3 to 5 years?
I mean, other than the Seattle game, this offense is just, it's doing so well. The New England game was weird, 21, but 24, 23, 31, 25, 27. Like, this offense can score. And, you just got Calvin Austin back, who I like a lot. I think that kind of, for me, negates the absolute need for another offensive player. I would like it if they could, add a real quality weapon, but you don't need to. Like, the issue now is our coverage guys, our safeties. Like, just taking Chuck Clark off the field might have helped you significantly. I've had issues.
They pretended he was sick so they could play a practice squad guy, and it was better.
Yes, I would not be surprised if that was part of it. Like, they called the illness, Saturday morning? Like, you're not going to give a flu or COVID or something an extra 36 hours to see if the guy could possibly be ready. That was a little bit suspicious to me. And I mean, the defense seemed better. I don't think he's a good tackler. I don't think he's a good, like, awareness guy, change of direction guy. He's just flying out of position, him and Thornhill. Like, you know, I got a significant amount of issues with the safeties and with, the physicality of their linebackers. If you could go out there and find an actual middle linebacker, like trade for Demario Davis from the New Orleans Saints. He's 36 years old. I don't even know if you want him back next year, but go get a guy who can be that tough guy that eats up blocks, is always in the right place, and can't get bullied off the ball so easy to give me some faith. And then go fix nose tackle. Before I would ever consider, looking at spending anything of significance on a receiver.
Yeah, and I think with the Bengals going down today, don't you have to take a serious look, or do they think they're still in it? Like, do they want to hold out hope for the fans that, Burrow might come back? Or Logan Wilson there, right? And some of these other moves, Jair Alexander got moved again today, and Howie Roseman has a sickness, but at the very least you're going, this dude is shooting his shot. And just to put a bow on the Chuck Clark thing, he costs like $1.42 million. I'm for that signing every day of the week and twice on Sunday, because if he hits at 1.5, like you're not looking back. And oh, by the way, when they realize Thornhill, Ramsey needs to be in the slot more than he needs to be deep yet, like they went and got Peppers, they went and got Duggar. Now, here's the thing. We called this a couple weeks ago. We said Duggar would have been here, but for the money, and then New England agreed to spend and eat that cash, right? This is a late round pick swap, and they paid to move on from the guy to play the younger guys. So everyone is just waiting until the last minute. Well, it's Sunday night. It's the 2nd. You got Monday and you got Tuesday till 4 p.m. And then there's no more waiting. Like, if you're going to make a move, we're out of time. And when you start stacking this thing up and looking at it, to your point, they came out of today healthy. They came out of today with a win. All the things that we want to bitch, moan, and complain about, you'd rather do it on a victory Monday than a 4-4 looking up at the world, talking about having to play Lamar Jackson twice where the Ravens control their own destiny against you. And so here we are. Here we go. Let's see them do something because if they just stand pat and they just keep going, nothing to see here. It's about the process. One component, two component. Like today, just like the New England game, is not something that you can count on 3 times in a row to put the next trophy next to the other Super Bowls.
Yeah, and you can't depend on what worked in years past of just getting into the tournament and thinking it's bound to be our year one of these times. Let's make the playoffs and have things go our way. You can't rely on that. I mean, just to put a bow on the show and sort of the premise of it, like what does today mean for who they are? It's an inconsistent team. And you know what? They can beat the best teams in the AFC this week and then lose to one of the worst next week. The New England and Indianapolis wins, I don't think anybody in the conference has 2 quality wins that high if you look at the winning percentage.
Oh my God, look at Green Bay
right now.
Look at Green Bay. They have 2 of the worst losses of anybody, and coming into today, they can destiny all the way to Santa Clara.
And it doesn't have to be this way. You just need to add a couple of defensive pieces here at the trade deadline. So I think that's maybe a good note to end on here as we wrap up this Sunday night. Steelers beat the Colts 27-20. Trade deadline Tuesday afternoon. Between now and then, we're going to jump on, talk about all the latest buzz and speculation, because it'll hit a fever pitch by Monday night. That Monday Night Football broadcast is going to have a ton of juicy tidbits to talk about. All the insiders will make damn sure of it. Anything else about tonight's game or this afternoon's game you want to talk about before we say good night, New Bear?
I really am looking forward to seeing the all 22, because there was some stuff even from the sideline, the mix and match stuff, and it just looks like guys don't trust. I think my walk away point from this is going forward. Let's say they do nothing at the deadline and they believe they have the answers in house. Today, it looked like most of the comms stuff basically was solved because they had to kind of dumb everything down based on, availability. But like, guys don't trust. Can I just play ball, or do I have to get to my drop like I see it on Xbox? You know, like, is there a guy in front of me threatening me, or can I go flex on this slot or flat route and maybe have a pick six so Slay doesn't have to bail and give up a hole shot that isn't a hole shot, but he's pausing and I'm not buzzing. And so the announcers are talking about how this is a Shane Steichen staple, and he looks like a genius, when in reality, guys are just out there buzzing their feet like it's the first day of JV tryouts and they're afraid of the Oklahoma drill. Like, communication into how do we unlock these guys to just play ball, man? Like, just be ball players and make plays when they're not being threatened to the point where their protection is inside and they get beat outside.
All right. For New Bear, I'm Dawson. Till next time, we'll see you on the